suppose one advice would have been to enjoy it a little bit more, enjoy the process a bit more. I was quite anxious. I think I was quite anxious when I started to build my laboratory. I enjoyed my postdoc time very much, and it was an extraordinary time of really thinking freely, taking risk. And then when I started my lab, I think somehow the seriousness of it all like hit me, and I don't know whether I enjoyed really the first year of being an independent faculty, and yet fantastic thing happens when I started my lab. In the first 5 years, we made several discoveries that are being recognized today, and I wonder whether I enjoyed it enough. So advice maybe will have been to enjoy the moment, because those are moments that never come back again. The first 5 years of being an independent scientist, just an extraordinary time of discoveries, of risk, of building, group with your first set of trainees, and there is bonds to be built. In fact, I built many bonds, but I don't know whether I enjoyed it enough. So, and I say that to all the faculty, young faculty I recruit now. But one thing I would say to young faculty, and I think I've done it, but I don't see it being done enough now. There's one thing that I think is very important in these first years when you build the group, or when you are a postdoc, is really to think of how to be transformative. So this is not the time to increment. You don't increment on other people's data. You will increment later in life on your own finding, but it's really a time to be transformative. And I think I was too consumed by it. I wanted to have a mark, and it interfered a bit with my intellectual enjoyment. So maybe I've done it too much. That's the seriousness of it all. But still, I think it's important to want to be transformative, and not to be really focused on the process. The process is that don't spend money too much or write many grants. And some young faculty are extraordinarily smart and innovative, just become consumed by the process. And the process is really some way to, of course, enable you to do research for such a number of your years. So it's important, but the most important is that new idea that you are bringing to the field. And sometimes some young faculty are lost by the infrastructure that needs to be built, so that research can goes on. So I started as a physician. So I was trained as a medical oncologist in France. And at some point during my medical training, I decided to focus on immunology or immunotherapy. And that decision was probably the most important decisions made in my life, because I hesitated a little bit. At that time, it was the beginning of immunotherapy, but also there was a lot of interest in targeted therapy. And I was interested in both, and I became really fascinated by the immune system, because I was trained as a bone marrow transplanter. So it was really the first demonstration that the immune system can kill cancer cells. And I became really fascinated by this. And I decided to study immunology full force. So that was an extraordinary turning point. But the second turning point for me was to come to the United States. So I decided to do a PhD after finishing my MD and residency. This is how you do an MD PhD program in France. And I decided to come to the States to do a PhD. And to me, that was the second turning point of my career, because somehow academic science was so different. I mean, the culture of it was different. There was a culture of optimism, a culture of possibilities, like, the strong belief among my colleague scientists that they could just discover novel treatment, that was not really the case in France. And really, I think it revealed a power with me. Like I started to also dream that me and if I focused on it sufficiently, I should be able also to transform medicine. So it was an extraordinary time, and I fell in love with the culture of American scientists, and I never left. I'm very honored to be inducted as a fellow of the Academy of Immuno-Oncology. And, women have the tendency to always be intimidated by award, because women more than men, I think, is, any award is in fact a recognition of a team and not an individual. So you always, want to thank those that contributed to the recognition of the work of my laboratory. But what's very important when you join an academy is that title, in fact, legitimizes, I suppose, your status in the field. And it really enables you to empower others, right? And empowers others to join and to contribute. And I'm fully dedicated to contribute to the Academy of Immuno-Oncology and really help the academy grow and flourish and really transform cancer care.